All
Okay.
right. How's it going?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Nice to see you guys. I love seeing you guys.
Love to
And
see you, Erin.
likewise. And I'm excited to talk to you today about your new book, Eros.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love this book. I love it. It's so much fun to read. And last night I was highlighting pages to sort of pick some passages, and I have to say, there's like 40 pages highlighted in here. So it was kind of it was tough to actually narrow it down and find some things I want to talk to you about. But so I'm excited to talk to you about that. And for those joining us live and who will watch this later, my name's Aaron, and I'm here with Miguel Ruiz and Barbara Emrys, who are authors of this brand new book called Eros that you can find wherever you buy books.
And what is the subtitle?
The subtitle says, Eros, a return to unconditional love. And I love the image too, because it's like the image of turning arrows into roses or stopping the arrows. But anyway, so what I was thinking, I can read a couple passages. You guys can expand on that. And then I invite anyone who's watching this live to leave some comments or any questions you have about this book, if you've read it. And if there's some time at the end, we can ask those questions and you guys can answer them.
Okay.
So that being said, I was thinking we could start. I found a passage on page 82 for those of you who actually have the book. You guys don't need to look it up. And it says, well, I think it's on page 82, but the passage says, you've created an image of yourself that you believe in, and you display it to the world. This image may reflect that truth, but it's not the truth. All knowledge reflects the truth with different degrees of accuracy. But knowledge is not the truth. What you think you know about love isn't the truth of love, which is why love often seems to make us unhappy.
That's a lot. Miguel?
Okay, it's important to understand that image of ourselves, and is the result of everybody's opinions, is the result of the domestication that we receive from our parents, our little society, at school, religion, etc., etc. And we can see that we learn to love the same way that everybody else's love, which means, of course, with conditions. But we forget that we are love. We incarnate in our physical body, then we are an incarnation of love. If we go into mythology and we talk about Eros, we can see that we are the incarnation of Eros. Eros is the main character of the story, which is ourselves. And we fall in love when we learn to love the same way that everybody else's love, with means with conditions. I love you if. And that's the way we learn to love, because everybody around us love in that way. And the worst part is that we learn to love ourselves exactly the same way. And we really believe all those concepts of love. That's why we are afraid to love, but we wish to love, that we take the risk and we pay the consequences, because with whoever we are, they love us with conditions. They love us if. And because of that, in the name of love, we sacrifice ourselves. Mm-hmm. We hurt ourselves just to be accepted and not to be rejected. Then this is the fall of Eros. Eros fall into the false love. And Eros want to come back want to redeem itself and find what Eros really is. Of course, when I talk about Eros, I'm talking about you. You are Eros incarnate in your physical body. You are the one who fall deep into the conditional love. And you are the one who want to redeem yourself the best you can. And the whole book is about that. Really is the most beautiful and romantic story where Eros finds himself and becomes what it really is, unconditional love.
There was so many times in the book where you guys talk about, seeing the way that your father loves you, or the way your mother loves you, or the way your sisters express love, and the way you see love portrayed on TV, and the way love is portrayed. And it's so easy as children to mimic the love that we see. And it's not real love. It's a distortion of love. But we learn to love that way. And of course, it makes sense why we find ourselves in all these relationships that create so much drama and heartbreak, because we're trying to love the way other people love. And I found that such a beautiful thread throughout the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tragic comedy. The whole journey to going back to ourselves. As we see it, the actor, we change faces, we change so many things in order to feel safe and secure. Then if we see our own past and remember all what we did, that tragic things that we suffer becomes a kind of comedy. And we laugh about ourselves, what we did, the way we used to believe. That is a great story, really, the one we live, trying to redeem ourselves and redeem the two belief systems. The real one, which is the come from the DNA, and the one that comes from society, which is that conditional love who make us fall in the borders that we want to save ourselves and become what we really are once again.
Yeah, I think what we can appreciate just observing life around us is that babies come into the world with a magnetic quality. We're all attracted to them, to their joy, to their love. They don't have a story. They don't have opinions. They haven't figured out, their narrative or their role in life. They don't distinguish between themselves, their body, and the rest of the universe. They are life itself, and that's love in action, being expressed in everything they do. What happens as we begin to build a narrative and build a sense of ourselves and knowledge takes over is that we think of love as apart from us, somewhere out there, something to be gained, something to be won, something to be kind of, to develop a strategy about how am I going to catch it, keep it, own it, and we lose that sense of we are love. Getting back to paradise, you could say, is reclaiming that unconditional love for yourself. And with that, it's so easy to share it with the world unconditionally. Why should we withhold love? That's withholding our own life force. And what does it gain us? We need to be a conduit for that life force. And that makes us a magnetic force to others.
Mm-hmm.
Again, which is how we started.
Yep. And and I know some of the passages I might have chosen are a little off the deep end, like right off the bat, but it's also the things that, I don't know, I guess I'm attracted to. So the next passage is really about, it says from page 110, I know that unconditional love can seem intimidating, even unachievable. For the most part, we're so far removed from love's intensity, which is what you were just talking about, that we shrink from it. We look the other way, we run, we quit, we blame someone else for loving us too much or for being braver in love than we were. So we often fail at important relationships. We drive people away, or we're unable to hold on to people who have real love to give us. It's a beautiful piece, beautiful passage. And there's not much to say about it except that it's true. Like sometimes we want love, we desire love, we want that relationship, but as soon as it comes knocking at our door, we're afraid of it. We're
Well, we
afraid of
want
being.
the truth of us, and we tend to look in all sorts of strange places because we were taught once again that love is kind of unachievable, or maybe not important, or maybe even dangerous. And I think that the book makes that point. And you say, you know, some passages go off the deep end, but I think we're already in deep water when we challenge people's view of love. I think that's where we start. We start in deep water.
True.
And you know, it's that view is so supported and given constant confirmation by society, by, as you say, you know, what we see in movies and books and TV, and also from just the models we were shown as children. Our parents may have loved each other and us well, or they may have been afraid to show too much love, you know, or they may have been confused about love. However we grew up, we kind of took on those expressions and those beliefs about love. And so this is just an opportunity to sort of question all of that. There's an entire day spent in this series of classes that the book represents on doubt, and how doubting what you think you know about love and about yourself is such a useful tool, a learning tool. You know, doubt a little and then see what comes rushing in. Life usually comes rushing in.
Well, if you see that in this mystery school, love is the great mystery. And we try to understand that love, but we was involved in so many different opinions, so many attitudes, so many points of view about what love is. And we're in the middle of all that, and each one of us will react in a completely different way. Some people will be so afraid to show the feelings. Some people will defend itself against love. Some people will use love as a tool to hurt others or to hurt themselves. And some people will see love like a something very far from them, that they don't have that love and they have to look for love wherever love is. And we can see that to love becomes a sacrifice. I called it a human sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself to be accepted, to not be rejected. You sacrifice yourself to please the person of the people that you want to be accepted, and you can do almost whatever for that acceptance. Or on the other hand, we sacrifice others in the name of love, because we try to control what love is and what people feel about love. We have all that opinion. That's why I love you if you let me control you. Or I surrender to you, just control me, do whatever you want to me. Hurt me, beat me, whatever, but don't leave me. Then you sacrifice yourself in the name of love. And the other person is empowering because that other one surrendered completely. And then becomes abuse of that power. It's abusing love to sacrifice the person that you love or you may love. And that is not just your partner, it could be your child, could be your sister or your brother, could be including your own parents, especially when they get old. And you want to control the way they have to behave in life. You want to control the neighbor, you want to control the neighborhood, or you're afraid to be controlled. You're afraid of the people with authority who use that authority to to hurt you, to submit you. And you use that power in order to hurt other people without knowing that we are misusing love. That there's so many different ways to see how love becomes the biggest demon in our society, the biggest demon outside of us and inside of us, because we sacrifice ourselves, even if nobody notices, even if nobody knows. We can suffer in silence because we wish that love. That reminds me the Magical Kitchen and the first book of love that we wrote, as maybe it's the last century. I think it was the last century. That Magical Kitchen, with someone come with pizza and give it to you a little piece if you just do whatever that person wants you to do. If you're starving for love, you will accept it. But you are love. You are the Magical Kitchen. Then you have love not just for yourself, but for the entire universe, for the entire world, for everyone. Mm-hmm. It is without conditions. That reminds me of that little piece of the other book that we write a long time ago.
There's actually a similar story in this book, which I found amazing, which was, what I love about the book also is it's sort of like this step-by-step understanding what love is and what love isn't. And it's a beautiful sort of woven tapestry of understanding the essence of love, and that love is everything. It's the force that covers everything, governs everything. And it's the way you describe it is absolutely so beautiful. And I think at the end you talk about, if you had a house full of food and you had never-ending food, and someone comes knocking at your door offering you food in exchange for a piece of you, you would say, I don't need it. I have enough. Mm-hmm. But if you were hungry and someone came knocking on your door and offered you food in exchange for something, all of a sudden you would be in debt to somebody. And it's really like a metaphor for ourselves. We feel in debt because we don't love ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're searching for someone to love us because we can't do it ourselves. And it's a never-ending spiral.
We think we're starving for what we are. And that's the mind shift that has to take place. You're the conveyor, the supply, the source of love, and you think you're starving for it. You want it from some other place in some other way. And then, of course, it leaves you disappointed because people are making deals with you. People are saying, give me this back in exchange for what I'm, trying to give you or appear to give you, but you can only give yourself.
It's like being nothing. You're whatever, just to feel that you may become something. Mm-hmm. And you're that way, everybody agrees with you. Well, you're nothing. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve love. Not even your own love. But when someone comes and say, okay, for sure you're something, then you can see that perhaps you're worth it to love and to be loved. Things start changing because now you may start loving yourself in a different way. And when they say, come and say, okay, you're something else, is a complete acceptance of what you really are. But in all that process, you are unlearning.
Yeah.
You unlearn the way they teach you how to love. You unlearn the unconditional love to find out that you have everything already with yourself. And that way, the second program, the program that was imposed to you, they indoctrinate you to make you feel needy, to make you feel that it's not possible, that you never can do it. Then you find out that it's not true. Mm-hmm. But what is true is that you are that love. You recover that trust in yourself, that confidence in yourself, and just start seeing everything in a completely different way. Then when you become something, you try to control others because now you have that power. But when you become something else, then you are free of all that conditioning and you no longer care to be right. You no longer care to impose your will or to make everybody to do what you want them to do because it's not important. Finding out that what really is important is that information that you have in yourself, which means the first program, the real program. And that make a great, great solution for all of us.
So he just brought up the programming.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get into that?
Yeah, I was gonna, if you want to talk about that, because I was gonna say you mentioned in the book about two programs, and one program you talk about is the DNA in our body. It's the program, it's life itself.
Life's blueprint, right, for us, and it controls, how we become physical beings and supports that physical being as long as it's alive and breathing. And then after that physical being is born, another program begins to take charge, which is the society's program, which is basically knowledge coming in and telling you what it means to be a human being, or how human beings should act and react to each other, and how human beings should feel about each other, and how human beings should describe love, among, infinite other things. So I think the best thing that this book accomplishes is giving you a sense of, yes, I can marry the two programs. They can actually be at peace with each other. Life's programming and your own programming, which now you're in charge of. Your parents, your teachers, your spouses, they're not there to program you. You're here to take charge of your own mental program, your responses to what it is you perceive, what it is your body, your senses perceive all around you, and to get that more in keeping with the original program, which means you're more in harmony with life itself, not constantly fighting it and saying, no, I can define this better. I know what life is about. This is not a mystery. And constantly confusing yourself, taking yourself so far away from your original essence that you actually think love may be something that can hurt you, and maybe you can use to hurt others. That is not something I think anybody reading the book or listening to our conversation right now wants to perpetuate for the rest of his or her life.
Then you can see that with that first program is rigid, is the way it is. That program will control the human body, not just with the awareness that we have about the human body, but everything that we don't know about the body is being controlled by the first program. Then that first program is going into the development of every organ, especially with the nerve system. That in a certain age, the DNA will force the different organs to release a certain substance that we know as a hormones. And that change complete everything. And it doesn't care whatever we believe or not. It doesn't care about the second program. It doesn't even bother about the second program. It's just the way it is. It keeps all the changes that happen in our physical body.
In adolescence.
From being a newborn baby or childhood to be an adolescent, to be a young human, to a reproduction, to grow old and to grow very old until finally leave the physical body. But the whole thing is really in the second program. The whole, what we struggle is in the second program, is the fall of Eros. Eros is working in that second program in order to let go all that that learn from knowledge to using the power of doubt to see if it's true or it's not true, whatever we learn.
Right.
In that way, we are stepping out step by step and believe less and less that second program until the moment comes that we know that the second program is just an illusion, is not that real, but is based in reality. But the interpretations that we made are not real at all. Then we can see so beautifully, like I said before, this tragic comedy, how Eros is going from the deepest, I'm nothing, to the strong, I'm something, and to finally become something else. When it becomes something else, that second program hardly have any power over the main character, which is Eros. Then when when all that knowledge cannot have that power over Eros, Eros recover its divinity by stepping aside and just live life to do what life has to do.
Eros meaning all of us.
Yes, it's been in you, it's been in me, even my dog.
Okay.
Well, is that true? But anyway, I don't have a dog.
Let's not worry about the evolution of your dog. It's mine.
I guess at a certain point there's a beautiful relationship between the two programs. You know, for most of our life, those two programs.
Wouldn't that be a good thing to strive for? You know, mind being in tune with body and maybe giving it some not only attention and respect, but service.
There's a great analogy I remember from the book where you talk about, you know, like if there's a bully at your school and you're being bullied, every time you walk around the corner of the hallway, you anticipate coming in contact with that bully. And I love the analogy between your body and your mind, that your body is anticipating what you are going to, the narratives that you're going to say that are abusing the body with emotion, with judgment, with whatever it is. And to clean that relationship would be, you know, that is love. That is that beautiful relationship between mind and body. That I think so many people are striving for.
Relationship reflects outward to all your relationships. So this is where it needs to begin.
Right.
You know, we can see that bully talking to the body. Imagine, well, a young human in the adolescence, maybe 13, 14, 15-year-old, that is timid, is shy, and have certain obesity, and have all those judgments that learn from childhood, and is applying it when he or she look itself in the mirror and say, look at this. And they start not liking the physical body and suffering because the body is not the way they want it to be. And they really criticize the body. Oh, that fat, that's very skinny. You're whatever else, we just don't like it. Then this is because we love our body with conditions, because we learn to love with conditions. Eros is really down in that moment, and it needs someone to blame, and is blaming its own physical body, the body that is always completely loyal to Eros, completely loyal, but is so mad, so angry, so jealous that it's even start hating its own physical body. And that can be so big, so strong, that many people just kill themselves because they think that will find release from all those judgments that they have about themselves. And they sacrifice its own physical body in the name of love, because they say, I don't deserve love. Who's gonna love me when I look like that, when I speak like that, when, you know, all those strong judgments that we use against ourselves. There's no compassion. We really hate our body, or we just don't like our body. And it's because we just don't know how wonderful and beautiful is our body. It doesn't matter what shape, you know. Then it's wonderful when we finally have the awareness of what is true, and we no longer believe all those opinions that come from the outside to show you in the magazines the way your body should look in order to be accepted by everybody else. And you compare yourself and say, oh no, I'm not like that. I never will be. And we just have this old drama in our own head. It's very interesting to see how Eros can deal with that and start putting in doubt whatever they say in order to use the truth just to the right to be itself, himself or herself. You know, it could be a big liberation that of freedom that comes step by step. It will depend how deep we fall into that conditional love. Because that conditional love is exactly the opposite of love. It's like a big ocean filled with monsters. And that monster, there's nothing but opinions. There's nothing but judgments. That is devouring us, is hurting us. Or we can say, Eros is hurting itself with all those beliefs, with all those lies. Because more than the 90% of our beliefs are lies. It can be really deep lies, and especially when other people support that judgment that we have. It is when we believe we are nothing. From being nothing to be something is a big step in the redemption of Eros. When finally you see, okay, I'm not look that bad. When I smile, I look good in the mirror. If you can start finding something wonderful in your own physical body, if you start appreciating even more your physical body, until the moment that you find out that this physical body is really the love of your life. That's when Eros becomes something else. Then we can see the evolution, how we get out of all that misery that we decide to live, because we decide to live that way with a little help of our friends, means our family, our neighbors, school, religion, because in religion we are sinners, so definitely. Well, anyway, I'm just talking for talking.
We could keep going with what society tells us. I think the most transfixing phrase you've ever said in all these years is that the opposite of love is love. And if people aren't intrigued enough to find out what that means, then this is what we're going to keep doing over and over again. We're going to keep representing ourselves as, you know, sort of the obstructions to love. And we're going to start, you know, keep being confused about how to express our love, how to mend, you know, broken hearts, broken relationships, how to go on with life, knowing that you can disagree, you can change dreams, you can end dreams, but love doesn't end.
You know, it's the big beast that all the religious stories talk about. The beast that is waiting for the little boy to be born in order to swallow it. Well, this is the conditional love. That's that beast.
It's what we think we know about love.
Yeah, and we
Gobble,
believe
gobble,
everything.
gobble.
And we can go so deep that it looks almost impossible to get out of that hell, because it is hell. Conditional love is hell in the different levels of hell. There, I don't know, 9 or 11 levels of hell that with the awareness we start getting out step by step. Some people don't go that deep, very little, but you know, it's like when we told about our stories, we should ask, in what level of hell are you right now? how much you love yourself. That's another way to say it. Do you really hate yourself? You just don't like yourself? You are more having half and half. You kind of like yourself a little. And see, it's different levels of hell, like I say, or different levels of conditional love, which is exactly the same thing, because the opposite of love.
Right. These conditions become so extreme and so frequent that, or so automatic that love is lost. There's, you know, it just feels like it's unachievable.
Then when they sing, all you need is love, they have to see what kind of love are they talking about.
Yeah. Could you?
If we need it or not. We may do, we may not.
That's great. I have to taste it. Before I wrap it up and ask a couple questions, I was going to say, if you guys talk about minimal chance, that I love that little part where like you have the rest of your life to focus on this. You have all the time in the world, but why waste a single second?
No time to waste. Yeah.
So, well, the minimal chance is the power of doubt. That's the minimal chance we have in order to face our own lies. Mm-hmm. And we can start with the little lies to go deeper and deeper and the biggest lies. And that is our minimal chance, the power of doubt. Is that true? Is that true that I'm so ugly? Is that true that I am so bad? Is that true that I'm so arrogant? Is that true that I, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so unlovable.
Right.
Yeah, we throw that at ourselves all the time. And of course, the greatest teacher, spiritual teacher in the world will give you a minimal chance. They can do no more than that. And you have to pursue your own paradise from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's
beautiful.
The power of doubt.
Right. Wow, thank you guys.
Okay.
It was a great conversation. And I hope that was helpful and inspiring to everyone watching this. And before we say goodbye, I see one question. The second question. It's from Elena. She says, Isn't Eros related with the love between a man and a woman?
Well, sexual energy, which is life's energy, you could say that. And this is the pure definition of this symbol Eros that fell into kind of being a symbol instead of being the embodiment of love and that life energy. And that's what we all did. We were that embodiment of life energy, whether you call it creative or sexual or just pure love, but we were that embodiment. And then gradually we learned to become the symbol of it. And the symbol, of course, is distorted, it's corrupted. It's been the cause of our own emotional pain and frustration. Getting back to being the embodiment of life, you could say wrap up in matter and bone and blood and sinew. The embodiment of life is not an impossible thing. You just, little by little stop investing so much in what you think you know. And the last day of this series of classes on Eros, represented in this book, is about that surrender. maybe the last page of every book Miguel writes is about surrender, because that's ultimately what we do. And what are we surrendering? We're surrendering our stories and letting life inform us more and more and more, as life has always done and life will always do.
And that is the mystery school.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. And the last question, which I think you've already answered, is by Elizabeth. It says, my question today is how to best deal with systems that exist that were not constructed with love. And it sounds like you question them. It sounds like what you were sharing before.
Don't believe them. But, you know, we're in a consensual reality, the human dream, that presents us with these frustrations all the time. You know, how can we create anything that's not based in love? And what we do is we find, you know, our own truth, find the authenticity in ourselves, and that contributes, as you know, little by little, to the authenticity of the human dream. And I'm sure Miguel has more to say on that.
Yes, I think it's absolutely beautiful, that question, because we talk about the individual human, which is you and is me, but it's really also to the entire humanity as one living being, because entire humanity is really the incarnation of Eros. If there's 7 billion people or more, I don't even know, and I really don't care how many we are, but we are billions. And we are only one living being, and we are part of that living being. Just like every cell of your body is part of your body, and every cell can live a part of your body for a while. But the totality of all those cells is your physical body. Well, the totality of humanity is all the humans together. And we are programmed to dream. We are programmed to create stories. We are programmed to fall into conditional love. We are programmed to all of that. It's not the choice of the individual. It's not the choice of just a few people who rules the planet. It's talking about the totality, and in the totality, we see that we love with conditions. Conditional love controls humanity, which means knowledge controls humanity. And when we understand that point, we will understand all the injustice that exists, all the violence, all the judgments that exist. We understand war. We understand how the need to control other nations, because we have the power because we can control them, and how these little nations have to submit and surrender to the nations who have more power, or with the tribes to have more power. Not just in only one nation. We see the same thing as the entire world. It happened in our own city. It's happened in our own state. It's happened in our own family. Then Eros is in everyone, and is all of us together. But to change the entire humanity, it takes hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But we are going into the right direction. Because if you compare the present time with 1,000 years ago, the way we believe, the way we treat each other is completely different. We evolve. We go from deep in hell to a little higher in hell, or higher in conditional love. And as science and technology evolves, we see that goes into every single human around the world. and see the evolution of technology and the evolution of science in the last 30 years is amazing. Then the last 10 years of the last century, it was huge compared with the other 90 years before. But these first 20 years in this century, wow, you know, we are trying to get close to, we can say, to the creation of the artificial intelligence that will be possible, the next step of humanity and the point of view of the mind, on the point of view of knowledge. Anyway, we are just playing. It's just going into possibilities that could be or not true, but it doesn't matter really. What it matters is that we put a little grain in order to let everybody know that we can redeem Eros inside of us. And just like, I don't know which law of the monkeys, where certain amount of monkeys do something, things happen. Well, with certain amount of humans go over certain levels, perhaps humanity may change also, but we're not in a hurry. We go step by step. Anyway, we will not see it in our lifetime. But anyway, we're going in the right direction. And
so much to do in our individual lifetimes to make our dream better. And that's what we need to be able to realize. Not that we can save mankind right now, right at this generation, but that we can save ourselves from, you know, whatever self-destruction that kind of confusion about love creates. As Miguel said, that dynamic of control and abuses of power take place in a family structure as well. It's not just in the human dream.
You will see that all those books will become classic books, just like the Four Agreements, because it's a gift that life is given to life, and life is using us to write these books. You know, we step aside and let life to use our brains to create the right words, to send it to everyone and let them give a message of unconditional love, a message that will be truth in a far future perhaps. But we know that right now, if it's true for individuals, that's enough. You know, if you can change your world right now, the benefit is not just yours, but also with the people who live around you. Because
and after you.
Yes, you change your world and you become a magnet because you have something that everybody wish to have. And with your point of view, you just give the minimum chance to everybody else to just to put in doubt what they believe. You don't tell them what they have to believe or not. You just put it out and they make their own choices. It's not about to control anybody. No, it's just to let know what we believe. And perhaps it will make an impact in whoever give life to those books. And I really recommend you to buy these books and read it. Give life to those books. If you decide it's not worth it, just put it in the trash, it doesn't matter. We don't take it personally. But it may help just a little into change the way that you believe about yourself and about everything. Anyway, let's see if Barbara can say something and Aaron can close.
I can say thank you. Thank you, Miguel, for all these years of teaching, for the books that your books have inspired, and the changed lives that have resulted. And I thank everybody for tuning in, because that means they care a lot about their own evolution and their own little voyage back to paradise and self-love. Thank you.
And I echo the same sentiment. And like you said, there's no rush, but why waste a single moment? So I appreciate you guys taking the time. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
And I wish you guys a wonderful afternoon, and everyone watching a wonderful day, evening, and week. And we'll chat again soon.
Okay.
So much love.